It's 9:35, Thursday, August 24th, here on Delaware. I'm Peter MacArthur. You know how we do it here. We like to, on occasion, keep you up to speed on what's happening in the job market, what's going on with the workforce. And we do that with the help of Chris Burkhard, Placer Staffing in Newark. First of all, Chris, a good morning to you, sir.
Good morning to you. I always love this few minutes with you.
Yeah, I do, and so do the people listening, because, you know, it's one of those situations, it's news you can use, Chris, as the old saying goes, and that's certainly a plus for those that are listening right now. We're in a job market right now, and I had not heard, I don't believe, this particular label put on the job market, but a lot of people are calling it, those in the know, a Goldilocks balance. And I guess that falls into enough jobs available, but wage growth is kind of moderate right now. You're an expert in this kind of thing. Do you agree with this assessment, though, right now of the market?
Well, the outlook is cautiously optimistic, which is a terrible soundbite, right? But it fits this particular situation. We've got the current pace of job creation is just way more sustainable. Like everything else kind of post-pandemic, it's just kind of ironing itself out. So 187,000 jobs is a yawner for July.
Yeah.
And that's lower than many months leading up to it, even, but it would have been a winner for any month pre-pandemic. So I suspect this is our new pace of jobs moving forward. Now, the Goldilocks is this, 3.5% unemployment. Well, that means that jobs are plentiful. Still, not quite the way it was, but there's still plenty of it. And a recent phenomenon this summer is that wage growth just isn't quite what it was, 3%. So, gosh, you can't get away from inflation, right? I'm not sure if this circular argument about making more money, products and services being more expensive, making more money, et cetera, I'm not sure who was winning, right?
Yeah.
But I know now it seems like wages are people can't leave a job for that 8 to 10 or 15% increase that they were, and it's just, a bit more of a reality check relative to where things are today.
Yeah, right. There's been a ton of stories lately. I'm not sure what precipitated it, Chris, on the 4-day work week. And really what it comes down to for a lot of people is that flexibility that the 4-day work week can offer, right? But even aside from that, within a 5-day, quote-unquote, normal work week, you see a lot of companies offering remote or hybrid arrangements now. They're hiring at nearly twice the rate of July of fully in-office positions. And what does this trend kind of signal about the importance of these flexible work policies today?
So, Pete, first of all, this is the biggest problem / opportunity that isn't being talked about. It's the one that is playing out in every company. So it starts with this. You're correct. Workers want flexibility. That's what happened through the pandemic. We all got a taste of it, and there's nothing wrong with it. In fact, we're willing to work for less, as much as 8% to get it, which I think speaks to how important it is.
Yeah.
And companies are just generally trying to get work arrangements in place that work for the business. And that's that rub. It's been very hard to take away what might have been offered with work from home schedules, or even trying to get folks more into the office. It is probably not something that people want to brag about, but it's really become a challenge. Now, fully remote jobs are harder than ever to find, but it's very clear that if a employer offers flexibility, some hybrid schedule, some work from home, that they are attracting talent and they're hiring it, as you mentioned, almost half the pace that someone who is all in the office.
Right.
And then I think what's interesting and not talked about much is it's in place to retain people today. Those that have some degree of flexibility, whatever that means. I mean, Pete, that could mean that you're allowed to leave at 3 to go to the doctor's and finish the day on your laptop.
Yep.
Those that allow that kind of simple type of scheduling are having people stick around a bit longer. But it's a raging topic that I hear everywhere I go, and everybody's not quite sure what the right answer is.
Yeah, I guess some of it is individual to the circumstances and the employee and the company involved. So maybe to paint it in broad strokes isn't the smartest thing to do in that case. I have been, Chris, in, I'd say recent months, making something of a concerted effort to every now and again reach out to local authors, right? I've always been somewhat fascinated by people who can write books about stuff because I don't see that within my own toolbox to get that done. And little did I know that actually I am talking to another local author today. You're out with a book called Opposite the Crowd.
Yeah, it's one of the more humbling things I've ever done. And I think that's great that you're talking to local authors. And, you know, I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you a bit about it. And what I felt the chapter that probably most applies for discussion is really that the nature of work has changed. And companies can no longer play that parental role managing an employee's careers.
Right.
We don't start in the mailroom and retire with a gold watch in 30 years, perhaps the way other generations had that opportunity. And with jobs and companies changing so rapidly, I'm proposing that more people need to be proactive in managing their own careers. And I've got this radical concept, opposite the crowd, that, hey, you have a lawyer, you have an accountant, you have someone that helps you with real estate, but who the heck is helping you with your career? And it's an open-ended statement. I sometimes think my company Placers could fill it, but somebody has to do a better job because, 4 or 5 times a year, Pete, we all need help with our careers, and we most likely ask the wrong person.
Yeah. In that vein, Chris, I mean, what is it about taking on that quote-unquote agent, if you will, that makes good sense? Is it about their knowledge? Is it about their connections or a hybrid of the two? What do you think are really the stars of the show when it comes to workers looking for new opportunities and reaching out to an agent potentially?
Well, what do you think of an agent around? Maybe it's a singer or some kind of sports star.
Yeah.
And it enables those folks to do what they do best, right? So somebody else is negotiating on their behalf, maybe providing them information, maybe helping them book gigs, doing things so that they can do what they do best. So I think there's critical moments in our careers. Pete, maybe you have an important meeting where you're presenting an idea tomorrow, and you wish you could talk to somebody who wasn't in the 4 walls of your business. Or maybe you have a review.
Yeah.
Or maybe you're in the media field. Who do you talk to about changes that are going on in the media field and how that might impact how you plan your career forward? And again, it's thinking about something that maybe we don't give a lot of time to, but if you could imagine, give yourself a half hour a week, and there's going to be this need to focus on what's next for yourself. Perhaps it's making connections to people in your industry. But I try to help people figure out who could best represent them. And it's not an easy task. It's not always a recruiter. It's not your uncle. It's not your neighbor.
Right.
You've got to find someone who knows your space, knows you, and will help you at those moments of truth. And, we tend to ask everybody but the person that might know the answer.
Yeah, that's a great point. I feel I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you a little bit more about the book itself. Again, it's called Opposite the Crowd. We're talking to Chris Burkhard here, Placer Staffing in Newark, if you listening want to check it out. You've seen a lot of things over the years in your career, as any of us who've done something for a certain amount of time have. Let me ask you this, Chris. What did it take you to finally say, you know what, I need to kind of put these thoughts down and get them out to people? Was there, some kind of transitional moment where you decided, yeah, I need to write a book about this? Or what was that process like?
So somebody gave me a flag that hangs in my office that says, do good recklessly.
Okay.
And coming through the pandemic, it was a wake-up call for all of us in different ways. So the thought of wanting to help people, I co-authored this book with my father, Alan Burkhard, and it was about documenting the ideas and principles and values of my family. And it's a story. So it's a bit of a memoir, but it's really a self-help book and about helping people make good decisions. And what I would say, Pete, the number one thing we talk about is that a lot of folks really don't know themselves, which is why we talked about the agent concept and how much do people get distracted by the shiny objects of their life versus knowing what they want. How many of us work during the week thinking we're going to make changes, start a business, get a new job, But, we run into the weekend, and the next thing you know it, we're on ball fields, and we're trying to get the kids, to their places. And then it's Sunday night, and you're back in the job that maybe you don't want.
Yeah.
So if we can help people have the life they want, learn to work on themselves, but then the very concept of opposite the crowd. We can all stand with everyone, and if you make a mistake, we're standing with everybody and nobody notices. But if you stand alone and do something special and great, well, you're opposite the crowd. And the general premise is, I think so many people go with the group decision when maybe your unique decision will get you a little further.
Yeah, fascinating. Great stuff. And I love the title, obviously, too. And I'm sure that the material within would serve many well who are listening right now, because as you alluded to before, we seek outside counsel, if you will, on so many of these other aspects of our life. And really one of the chief drivers in our lives are our jobs. And we don't necessarily seek out that same level of outside help and advice and guidance. So, it's in that respect a valuable tool, I'm sure. Opposite the Crowd. Opposite the Crowd's the book. Chris Burkhardt's the author, and as you well know, also heads up Placers in Newark. I look forward to the next time we talk, and as always, thanks for the info today, Chris.
Thank you for the time.
All right, take good care now. It's 8:47 here on WDEL. Once again, if you want to check out Chris's book, Opposite the Crowd is the title.